This is so difficult. Talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. Hi, my name is Tracy Chou. I'm a software engineer at Pinterest. I do a lot of work around diversity in tech. The life of a woman in tech can be good sometimes and sometimes not as amazing. Asians are expected to be very submissive and quiet and obedient and to not take on leadership roles. And being too feminine, of course, in an industry that is very male-dominated makes me stand out, and in some cases it causes people to dismiss me for that. There was one conference I went to where I was wearing a dress, and it was this conference around a programming language, around Python, and when I tried to talk to people, they just wouldn't take me seriously. And I think they assumed because I looked too feminine that I couldn't be actually a software engineer. So I'd ask them very technical questions and they would say things like, oh, I don't think you would understand, or just dismiss me. And so the next day of that conference, I almost didn't go back, and I decided I would go, but wear a t-shirt and jeans, and it was actually a lot better. And so there's a little bit of this having to hide part of my personality or part of who I am in order to fit in and get people to take me seriously. And I was at a breakfast with Sheryl Sandberg, and she was in front of the room and she was talking about the state of women in tech, and she said something to the effect of the fact that the percentage of women in tech, or the number of women in tech, has been dropping precipitously, and that the situation was really dire and we needed to do something. And I didn't question her sentiment, but I wondered what numbers she was talking about, because I had never seen any numbers. And so I was thinking about it, and I was just struck by that irony that in an industry that is so data-driven, everything we do in tech is numbers. We track all the metrics, we do A/B testing, everything is instrumented. There's no data on diversity. And a couple of years ago, I set up a data repository online to collect the numbers on women in software engineering, which helped to spur a whole wave of diversity data disclosures across a lot of different companies, which has helped to elevate that conversation around diversity now that we have data to put towards the problem. Most tech companies are less than 20% female in their tech roles. Women in leadership numbers are somewhere between 15 to 30%. And then beyond gender diversity, for racial diversity, Blacks and Latinos are somewhere in the single-digit percentages in tech and non-tech roles in most companies. So it's pretty bad. Yeah, so I think diversity is important for a lot of reasons. One is that diverse teams just work better. And I've had this experience very personally myself when I worked on teams with people who have very different perspectives and viewpoints and insights. We just work better together. People have more creative ideas, and in an economy where innovation is so important, to have that diversity is just so great to build better products. And there are some very good examples from the tech industry where the lack of diversity probably played out negatively for the products. So one example would be Apple Health Kit, which launched in iOS 8 as this kind of comprehensive health and fitness portal. And you can track everything in there, like your step count, your sodium intake, your inhaler usage, but they forgot period tracking. It's like a very obvious use case for women's health, but they forgot about it. There's so much talent that hasn't been unlocked, and so we think about this idea like talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And so if we want to make use of all these amazing people in our economy, it just makes sense that we remove these barriers for them to access the tech industry. Yeah, so I think the first step towards solving the problem is understanding what the problem is. I think the next step is actually committing to solving it. The way that we actually make progress is we set these goals and then try to get towards them. And if we miss, we examine what went wrong and try again. But if we don't have any goals, then things aren't going to just change naturally. I'm cautiously optimistic about the situation for women in tech. I think we're starting to see some momentum around diversity. A lot of companies are at least thinking about it now. I think the end goal is that women are equally represented at all levels of leadership and participation in the tech sector. And so that means running companies, investing in companies, building the products within the engineering and design teams. I think when we get to that point, then we can stop talking about this issue. My brain is totally fried.